Okay, guys, so for questions 8 through 10, they want us to find the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2, and they want me to give me the reasons. I didn't expect the reasons, but I'll give you mine while we're going over this worksheet. Well, I know that this angle, that these are my two parallel lines, and this is my transversal here. So I know that I know what happens when I have that. I know that angle 1 and the 135 are corresponding angles, meaning that they match or that they are congruent. So if this angle here is 135 degrees, then this angle here is also going to be 135 degrees. I also know that angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So if this angle here is 135 degrees, I know that this angle here is also going to be 135 degrees. Question number 10, here are my two parallel lines, and here is my transversal. I know that these angles here are consecutive interior angles. They're inside of the parallel lines, and they're on the same side of the transversal, so they're consecutive interior. So I know that consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So I know that those two together should equal to 180 degrees. So if I take 180 minus 118, that's going to give me 62 degrees. So this right here is going to be 62 degrees. I also know that these two angles here are a linear pair, meaning that they add up to 180 degrees. So this is also going to be 118 degrees. And finally, I want you to notice that this 118 and this 118 are inside the parallel lines, and they're on different sides of the transversal. So they are alternating interior angles. Alternating interior angles. And we know that alternating interior angles are what? They are congruent. They are congruent. Just like these angles here. These are also alternating interior angles, and they're also congruent. For questions 12, 14, and 16, they wanted you to find x, and they wanted you to find y. Well, let's take a look here. I know that this angle here is 109 degrees, and these are my two parallel lines, and this is my transversal. Well, I know that these are vertical angles, and I know that vertical angles are congruent. So this is going to be 109 degrees. I also know that these two angles here are consecutive interior angles, and we should know by now that these are also what? Supplementary. So then if I want to find this angle right here, all I need to do is take 180 minus 109, and that is going to give me 71. So this angle right here is 71 degrees. Let's take a look at number 14. Number 14, here are my two parallel lines. Here is my transversal. I hope we recognize that x and 65 are corresponding. They're corresponding angles, so we know that they're congruent. So I know that x is going to be 65 degrees. And I hope you also recognize that these are a linear pair, that y and 65 are a linear pair. So I can find y simply by taking 180 minus 65, which is going to give me 115. So this is going to be 115 degrees. I also want you to notice that these two consecutive interior angles are supplementary. If I add these two together, they equal to 180 degrees. So everything is where it should be. Next, here again are my two parallel lines. I know that x and the 130 are corresponding, meaning they match. So I know that x is going to be 130 degrees. And I also know that these are vertical angles, and they are congruent. So y is also going to be 130 degrees. Next, let's take a look at questions 18 and 20. Again, they wanted us to find the measure of angle y. Here are my two parallel lines. Here's my transversal. This is the interior, and they're on alternating sides. So I hope you remember that alternating interior angles are congruent. So I can say then that 2y is equal to 70. and y is equal to 35. Again, for number 20, here are my two parallel lines. Here I have consecutive interior angles, and I should know that those are also supplementary. So then I can say then that they're equal to 180. I want to solve for y, so I'm going to divide both sides by 6, and y is equal to 10. Moving along to questions 22, 24, and 26, again, they wanted me to find the value of x. Well, if I look here, something interesting happens. Here are my two parallel lines. Here's my transversal. I know that this is 90 degrees. Well, I know that this is also 90 because it's a linear pair. I know that this is going to be 90 because these are vertical angles. And I know that this is going to be 92. So all of these are 90 degrees. So I know that all of the corresponding angles will also be 90 degrees, which means that 2x plus 10 is also equal to 90. So we can solve that right over here. And x is equal to 40. Over here now, again, here are my two parallel lines. I know that this is 89 degrees. I know that this is going to be 89 degrees. And I can actually find this angle right here because I know that these are a linear pair. So all I need to do is 180 minus 89. That's going to give me 91. So I know that this angle right here is 91 degrees. And I also hope you recognize that these two angles right here, this angle here and this angle here, are corresponding angles, which are congruent. So since this is 91 degrees and this is also 91 degrees, I can say that 5x minus 24 is equal to 91 degrees. And we can solve that right here. So x is 23. And finally, here I have my two parallel lines. Here's my transversal. I hope we can tell that these are corresponding or matching angles. So I can say that 7 times x minus 7 is equal to 126 degrees. And all we have to do is a little distributing here, like in Algebra 1. Just distribute the 7. And x is going to be equal to 43.75. And, oh, that's not right. Let's try that again. That doesn't seem right to me. Divided by 7. I'm sorry, it's 25.